What's up, Cougar Nation? Welcome again aboard the Hype Train podcast. I'm your host, Joe Wheat. That's at Joe Wheat27 on Twitter. As always with my boys, Trevor Levitt and Chandler Miller today. We are sponsored by Wilner O'Reilly Immigration Law. Boys, is BYU good?
I think BYU's at least nice. I'll put it that way.
Look, I need to start the show with celebrating my boy Trevor Levitt. Because I was listening to a podcast today, and all of a sudden the hype train came on at like the exact moment we were giving our season hype, like our season hot takes. And immediately Trevor says, I think Will Ferrin is going to break the BYU record. And not only is he going to break it, he is going to do it late in the game in the second half when who knows, BYU could potentially punt it, but they're going to give him a shot and he's going to make it anyway. Dude, the hype train hot take curse is dead. Like, it's been dead for a few years now. Big 12 play has done wonders for my boy Trevor.
Hey, my hot takes left Independence and suddenly they found roots. You know what I'm saying? So, and Bear Bachmeier had 5 total touchdowns. I predicted 4.
Yeah. So we've come a long way from him predicting that Dallin Holker would lead the team in receiving before he left the team the week later.
That's some like deep podcast lore at this point. Is just the
none of you who are listening right now know what the heck I'm talking about, because Trevor has just been on a generational run for so long that people think listening to Trevor give his hot takes is like sound betting advice.
The tragedy of Darth Holker, the wise.
We used to have to groan. We used to groan when Trevor would give his hot take and it was anything positive or about a certain player, because we could count on him being injured for the next 3 games, after Trevor said it.
Yeah, I was death itself for some of these players.
Kiss of death.
I am become death, destroyer of worlds. So Trevor is on a generational run. Speaking of generational runs, which of LJ Martin's 4 generational runs are we opening the show with today?
I mean, that first one where it took like the entire Portland State defense to tackle him and he dragged like 3 guys. That to me, when quick shout out because it's connected, but I feel like the strength and conditioning team at BYU has been incredible, especially the last couple of seasons. They brought in new guys for the Big 12 and felt like, health and like general strength and speed was something that they were lacking. Those guys, I know
health, strength, and general speed is something that the BYU football team was lacking. That is correct.
Yes. I know that it's Portland State, and I know that most of this episode is going to be, we know it's Portland State, but however, like LJ looks very strong. And I don't care who you're playing, dragging 4 dudes another 5 yards and still fighting as like the rest of your team and the rest of their team shows up in this like kind of rugby scrum. That to me shows strength. He looks thinner. Chandler kind of pointed this out. We'll see on the breakaway speed. Didn't see a ton of that against Portland, but I'd like to think maybe he was saving that third gear for conference play. But I do feel like the strength and conditioning team has been very good about making sure that our guys are ready, they're explosive, and are adding, lean, strong muscle over the offseason.
A little staring contest. All you, Joe.
Sorry, I just had to blow my nose for a second. So I am just
you're good.
I'm just like all over the place right now. LJ was so good. Let's just tell Hunter to edit that part out.
Sure.
LJ was so good in this game that I was actively rooting against him on some of these runs because I wanted so badly for Bear Bachmeier to just have the chance to air it out all game long. Like I think all of us wanted to see him throw the ball 25 times, right?
Yeah.
But I kept getting texts throughout the game. It's like, well, they look great, but I want to see them get Bear a couple of easy throws. They tried. They literally tried to have Bear Bachmeier be able to throw the ball, but LJ Martin could not stop getting into the open field. Okay. LJ was so good, he was running into his own players because that was the best chance that he could get tackled so that Bear Bachmeier could throw touchdown passes. Like it was the ultimate like, oh my gosh, good things are happening. No. Come on. I know you're good. I want to see if Bear is good. Come on, LJ. Think about the team. Think about the fans. Go down.
I know. I almost felt like I was watching Madsen with Genty last season, where like Genty would just run all over the field for like 80 yards, and then Madsen would cap it off with like a 4-yard out route to Chase Roberts, or a nice little rollout to the tight ends and whatnot. And so I do believe, and we'll get to this. Obviously, I don't want to jump the gun, but I think Bear will throw a little bit more this week. But I was with you. It was like one of those things where it's like, man, like, can we sit LJ? Like, LJ's already established that he's good. Let's give some other guys a shot.
Anytime you play half a game of football and you end up with 16 yards per carry, good day at the office. Like at the middle of the second quarter, I was kind of screaming, like, take him out. We've seen enough. He's his old self. We're good. Like, bubble wrap him and keep him for next week.
In my opinion, he was better than his old self because he was averaging 14.4 yards after contact. Like he was running through guys and getting into the open field. We'll talk about that breakaway speed maybe another day. I personally, like, LJ didn't have a run further than 39 yards last season. He had 2 on Saturday. So like he's not running away from guys. I don't know if he's ever going to be like a real 4-4 guy, but I don't know. Like he looked pretty darn good to me. So at the end of the day, like he was the number 4 running back in America, according to PFF on Saturday. Like that's, you got to like what you saw from him. I think if Saturday is any indicator, like he's not going to run for 16 yards a carry this season, but I like the idea of him maybe running for 6.
That'd be big. I think the offensive line as well. Like, here's the thing: BYU did, and we'll talk more about this, but BYU did exactly what you're supposed to do to a team that's that bad. Like BYU's offensive line got a push, and if I remember right, I believe we were talking in the group chat that there was no pressure. Like there was no pressure given throughout that entire game, as like a recorded stat. So for me, that like the success yesterday, like as awesome as LJ was, and he ran tough. The offensive line gave him a ton of room to work as well, which is something that his freshman season he didn't have a lot of, and then last season he had some of, but was injured. I'm just really excited to see what happens when a good offensive line meets a healthy LJ Martin, and at least against a small time like FCS school, like it's 16 yards a carry. Like it's just unbelievable.
So, I mean, let's just go position by position and just gush about everything on this team. Because like I tried to go back and watch some film on this so that I could be prepared. And every single play was just BYU good, Portland State bad. Okay. Like I again, to Chandler's point, we can all acknowledge that this is Portland State. There were a lot of teams that played. I think I counted there were 48 teams this week that played FCS teams. None of them looked as good against their opponent as BYU looked against theirs. Like 69 points was the highest point differential in all of college football. No school gave up 51 yards or fewer. BYU did. They were the lowest yards per play lowest yards per play of anyone in the country. I think they averaged like 1.2 yards per play allowed. BYU was just dominant, and it was because BYU was good. So offensive line, BYU's offensive line allowed 4.9 yards before contact. That's crazy. Like again, you need help with your opponent being bad, but BYU's offensive line was straight up moving furniture. 3 of the top 17 pass blocking tackles in the Big 12 played for BYU this week. I think it was, 5 of the top 30 offensive linemen in the conference, according to PFF, were all from BYU. The only team that had more was Kansas at 6, and no other team had more than 2. BYU at all levels just looked really freaking dominant, starting with Isaiah Jota, who graded out at I think it was 82, was the second best tackle in the conference behind only Spencer Fano on Saturday. Again, it's Portland State, but you have to like the physicality that you saw from BYU's offensive line in the run game, that you're moving your opponent 5 yards down the field before your running backs even gets touched.
And in some cases, it was more than 5 yards. There was a handful of plays where I saw Andrew Gentry good 10, 15 yards downfield, burying somebody about 6 feet deep. It was beautiful to see, and seeing an offensive line that looks comfortable, playing with a mean streak, not allowing a single pressure. That's exactly what you want to see. And shout out as well to a lot of the depth guys that we don't generally mention, but there's a lot that goes into a 69-0 win, especially when you have your third, fourth stringers playing the entire second half. Not allowing a single point, not allowing a single pressure is not just due to our highly rated Michigan transfer and others. It comes down to it's a group effort, right? And so there's a lot of people that it is a good day at the office when you have Charles Mishka, who you don't know how much he'll play for BYU in the future. I'd love to see him a bit more, but any time that they score a touchdown, you're like, awesome, sweet. I love seeing it. I'm glad for that reason that we didn't let our foot off the gas towards the end there.
Yeah, I love it. I decided to look it up. As a team, there were 48 carries on the day against Portland State. Chandler, while we're waiting for Joe to log back in here, you want to take a stab at what our average yards per play was on those 48 carries?
Oh boy. Well, you got LJ pulling it up at 16. I'm gonna guess it settled somewhere around 7, 8.
9.8. So we're looking at almost 10 yards per carry for the entire team. LJ, just looking here, just really quick, would have finished. Oh, geez. 1, 2, 3. He would have finished fourth in average yards per carry at 16, because you would have had Cody Hagen at 28.5, and then you had Dominic McKenzie with his one rush of 41 yards. Tracian Bourget, he had his 21-yard carry, and then I just realized they put Cole Hagen. Just kidding. Cole Hagen had a rush of 17 yards.
Oh yeah.
So I thought maybe they had put him on there twice. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot that Cole Hagen was on the team. So that's
I thought Cody was taking snaps as our emergency Wildcat QB, and I was like, oh, sick.
Yeah.
And also, can we talk about Cody Hagen's running form for just a second? I've never seen somebody so visibly excited for the open field as Cody Hagen on the end around, seeing daylight and just arms flailing about. I'm sure you can grade his form as a former D1 runner, Trevor. You can kind of give us the insight there, but I think, was it Hunter or Joe in the chat that compared it to the Saquon Barkley touchdown celebration? Just arms a flailing. Give us your takedown and your rundown on the running form there.
Here's the thing that if it was track form, he a C-. The kid's obviously fast, but yeah. I think as I've gotten, as you get older and having ran track and played football and whatnot, there's a difference in how you want to run in football. If you look at guys like Tyreek Hill, for example, or Tavon Austin, both in college and in the NFL, one thing that they did really well, or DeAnthony Thomas was another one that I was thinking about the other day. In football, you want to run a lot lower. Kind of have that lower pad level, and you want to focus more on having a more surface area, more cleat to turf, more surface area covered there, so you can cut. Whereas as a sprinter, you're not worried about these huge guys trying to hit you all the time, so you can run a lot higher. And one of the things that those guys did super well is they can transition. Once Tyreek and Tavon and DeAnthony Thomas knew, Xavier Worthy does it too. When they know that they're in the clear, they run a lot higher, and that's kind of when they pull away. Cody looked like he was trying to stay low, And he just the other thing that I actually really liked, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, was the ball security. Like one of the reasons why the form looked a little weird is because that ball's not moving.
Yeah,
it's not leaving that 5 points of or 4 points of pressure. So if he wants to open up and get that arm pumping as well, he'll probably look a little bit better. But it is funny that you pointed that out, because I saw him run and I was like, oh, like nice, we scored, but also it's like, oh, I don't know if I need to see the replay on that.
The form was interesting, but you can just tell he was excited to see that much daylight, and you could tell he's like, with the speed I have, I'm gonna make it. This is my first touchdown, right? Like, I was happy for him, but yeah, I don't need to see the replay per se.
You could tell he had never done this before, like at the college level. Like, that he's fast, but again, he looked like Saquon He looked like the Saquon Barkley celebration was. I was watching it live and thinking, like, why is he moving so slow? Like, I know he's fast as he's pulling away from other Division I defenders.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is he's an efficient runner, which is going to make it look like I got in trouble all the time in high school. Like my coach would yell at me and he'd be like, when are you going to actually start running? And it's like, coach, I am going as fast as I can. And if you actually looked at like what's actually happening, like I am pulling away, as Joe mentioned. My one concern is with him, the way he ran yesterday is just hamstring. It's just a lot of like pelvis forward. That. It's just there's a lot of pulling there. So if he can, get a little bit higher when he's in the open field, save his hamstrings a little bit, and he'll find a little more speed.
Cody,
going back to that,
we know.
Oh, go ahead,
Cody. We know you're listening. We know you're listening. Please, please, please contact Coach Trevor. We will provide free consulting services, just like Wilner and O'Reilly provide free consultations for Hype Train listeners. We will provide a free track consultation.
There we go.
I mean, here's the thing. That guy went 10.5 in high school. I never sniffed that time. I would like to think I have him in the 400, but he knows a thing or two about getting stuff done quick. So I don't want to break anything if it's not broken. You know what I'm saying?
I know we were going position group by position group, and wanted to go back to, on that play where Cody Hagen saw daylight, there was a clip that BYU football posted of some of the staffers up in the box watching that play develop.
I love that video.
Kind of the moment that the ball gets in Cody Hagen's hands, are like, we have it. Like, he's got it. Like, they could tell the downfield blocking was effective, and everyone was fulfilling their assignments the way that you need to in team football. And so it was cool to see them diagnose it that fast. Like, yeah, with our downfield blocking, we'll move on to the tight ends. Like, Carson Ryan, dog. Hayden Need, dog. No Moriaki getting a touchdown catch, dog. Like, one catch for a touchdown. Love it. Good day at the office, right? So, like, it was cool. It was a great game for the tight ends overall as well.
I really liked what I saw from Carson Ryan. Like, I think he is going to be such a security blanket for this BYU offense this year in a way that BYU hasn't had in years. Like, the concentration that it took to pull in that to catch that touchdown twice was extremely impressive. He's got great hands. I have no idea how he only had one touchdown last year. That guy, if he stays healthy, might actually end up being BYU's second leading receiver. Just because he's that good.
Yeah, Brent Keithy.
Yeah.
Who was good, but my goodness.
And like, look at his quarterbacks. Like, that was honestly the funniest thing. I like when I was looking up his stats before at UCLA and Utah, the passer rating quarterbacks had when targeting him was something like a perfect NFL passer rating is like 158. The passer rating when targeting him was something like 125, 130, something crazy like that. And then when you think of like who his quarterbacks were like Isaac Wilson, Brandon Rose, and Ethan Garbers from UCLA. Like, this guy has not had a good quarterback his entire college career, yet all he does is just catch passes when targeted. So it's nice to see that again. I think he's going to be a real threat in the intermediate passing game. I thought, honestly, Bear's best throw of the day was probably the corner route. It was the same drive where Carson caught the touchdown, but again, to be that quick to run a corner route like that, make the catch in traffic and get upfield, like, again, we haven't really had that from a tight end in a long time. And he's a willing blocker. So it's good to have that on BYU's roster again.
Even if all that Carson Ryan does this year is just helps BYU fans get rid of the narrative that we don't throw to tight ends, and I don't have to hear that every week, he'll be my favorite player this season. I promise. Yeah, if he just gets a handful of targets, security blanket status, like you mentioned, I would love that. Would be thrilled. Nothing I hate more than the we never target our tight end narrative when their tight ends haven't really earned the targets per se. Whereas I think this year we'll see plenty of them.
Carson Ryan like is a big addition to the offense for many reasons, but I was listening to, I think it was Kirk Herbstreit or Joel Klatt or somebody that talking about how for a young quarterback, a good tight end is his best friend. And I think that's something that Bear obviously benefited from on Saturday. He had obviously a lot of confidence pushing it downfield. Like his most probably aggressive throw of the day was kind of that over the shoulder lob to Carson, who, is a tad underthrown, but Carson made that one mistake right and took care of it. And that's big. I think moving forward, like Bear's going to see that in film, but he's also going to know that that's somebody that he can go to. And when you've got a guy, going down the middle as big as Carson, and then you've got dudes on the outside like Chase Roberts that you have a ton of just reliable safety blankets. And then, oh yeah, by the way, you've got a guy right now averaging 16 yards per carry in the backfield. I mean, he's a young buck, but he's got all the weapons to be successful around him. And so to just add another one when frankly the tight end room was just non-existent last season, it's huge.
To put a bow on the offense kind of as a whole before we talk about Bear, I really feel like the starting, like the ones on offense are just absolutely loaded. Like it's, if you were to have a true freshman step in and lead your program, this is like one of the ideal offenses to put him in, because we know what Chase can be. We know like Parker Kingston is, as a punt returner, like the fumble notwithstanding, like every time Parker caught the ball, I knew even on the fumble, like I knew he was going to get 20, 15, 20 yards downfield. That's a weapon to have that you'll very rarely have bad field position when you got a guy like Parker Kingston back there. Offensive line, BYU allowed 0 pressures on the offensive line. That's incredible. Against any level of competition, no pressures. Running game was incredible. All of Bear's touchdown passes were on play action because LJ was such a threat that you had no option but to bring those safeties down. Like, Bear is going to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities. And you got Chase Roberts, who can get open against man coverage. You got JoJo Phillips, who can get open against man coverage. So it's, I don't know, like the pieces are in place for BYU to do something special with Bear. The unfortunate part is I feel like we did not have a big enough sample size to really figure out what Bear is going to be. 11 throws isn't enough. I thought you could my biggest takeaway of Bear was, at least early on, he looked like a guy who didn't fully know his place yet, if that makes sense. Like it felt like he was trying a little too hard, which I love to see the effort, but like every time he had the ball, he was diving headfirst into defenders. As a passer, he was almost throwing it a little too hard. Like there was the slant route to Cody that he threw a little too far out in front that almost got picked. The 2 deep balls to Chase, like it felt like he was aiming the ball a little bit too much rather than just throwing it. Like to me, it was almost like he was thinking a little too much, which is normal for a true freshman. What impressed me the most about Bear was, one, he got more comfortable as the game went along. I thought, as the game moved along, I thought his accuracy was a lot better. Like I said, his best throw was to Ryan. I actually thought on the 2-minute drill, his throw to Hagen, where he layered the throw over the linebacker before the safety, was extremely impressive. And it was an exact replica of the throw he missed to Parker early in the game that got tipped by the linebacker. So it was cool to see that progression from him. But again, what impressed me most about him was he didn't make a bad read. Like you go back and watch him play, he didn't miss a single decision the entire game. I am completely comfortable with every decision that Bear made, which is the hardest part about playing quarterback. Like the ball placement stuff, the footwork, like we can get that cleaned up as you get more reps. The decision making was, I would give him an A plus as far as that's concerned. And he made the layups. Like we've seen BYU quarterbacks be incapable of making the layups. He didn't miss a single one of those. So give me the ability to throw the 5-yard out, and we'll figure out how to throw a 30-yard back shoulder.
You have so much time to dial that in before it's actually going to matter, and that's no disrespect to anybody that BYU plays, but this, like you said, one step at a time. Like you said before, like really the only ball where I was kind of like, oh, that was a little weird. Like even the tipped pass, like that was the difference of like an inch or two to Parker. So I'm not losing sleep over that, but the RPO to Cody that almost got intercepted, like just a little antsy, but like you said, like the right throw, like Hagen was there. The ball was just a little out in front of him.
Hagen catches that. That's 15 yards after the catch with Cody's speed. So it's like again, and like finding Parker on that ball that was tipped, like finding him in the first place was good. Again, the timing just felt a little bit off to start. But I mean, to start, what was he like 2 for 5 to start with 9 yards and finished 7 for 11 with 97 yards passing, like, and 5 touchdowns. Like let's not forget that he put up the most by a true freshman in a BYU opener. I guess I would grade him at a B plus.
I think that's fair. The other play that jumped out to me as far as the good decision making goes was on his final touchdown. So he had rolled out to the right. They ran a little bit of looked like a little bit of a flood concept. So they had the streak on the sideline, kind of a deep 12-yard out route, and then just a flat. Portland State wasn't very good. I should have looked up his name before, but somebody got an angle of that play, and it was actually well defended. I felt like on Portland State's end, they ran a zone. Guys were transitioning when players entered into their area, and I felt like that they were covering really well. And rather than forcing it, Bear took what the defense gave him, and in this case, he was able to make a guy miss and score. And for me, like, I'll take it even a step further from what Joe was saying with his decision making, but his decision making specifically in the red zone. This is an offense like with a running game and an O-line and receivers that can get you down to the red zone, where Bear's job becomes like way more important is when he has to operate in these places where the field's not as big, the defense doesn't have to guard as much, green turf in front or behind him. Like what kind of decision making are you going to have in those moments? And as far as like being in the red zone goes, he was perfect. That pass to Moyaki was perfect. The decision, like I just mentioned, on that play to tuck it and run was great. He was very patient running on his first rushing touchdown. I thought where it mattered most on the field, those scoring positions, I thought he was flawless.
The bones are there. Like the quote of the game was the Portland State head coach that called him a goddamn centaur. Has to be
what a line.
Has to be the quote of the year. I don't know. What were your thoughts, Chandler?
Yeah, I think as kind of a microcosm of what we'll hopefully see this season, you could see him grow into the game. Like that first drive, a little bit antsy, and I think I was a little antsy as a fan, seeing like, all right, like we haven't put up any points yet. Parker Kingston fumbles the kickoff. You see them get like an 18-yard run, and if I had known that was a third of their yards for the entire game, I would have probably calmed down. But you could see Bear grow into it, like play by play, even with certain throws where like the placement could have been a little bit better. If we're being honest, his predecessor wasn't much better with ball placement. Like he'd put it in the general area of his receivers, but it required a lot of adjustments from Chase and Darius and everything last year. I think you'll see Bear grow into it. And luckily with the schedule that we have, I think we'll see some more of that this next week. Stanford secondary is not stellar. We'll get into that. But a lot of encouraging signs. Like this is kind of exactly what you want. Like you didn't see him get tested a whole lot. Like obviously we mentioned a few times, no pressures allowed. So it wasn't like he was, like really under fire there, but really encouraging signs. He was mostly calm and poised after the first, second drives. Did everything you need him to. And, we'll see him kind of grow into the starting role, hopefully a bit more next game or two.
One last thing I wanted to give him his roses for was that kid was so locked in even after halftime when he wasn't playing anymore. Like helmet never came off, was standing next to, whether it was the quarterbacks that were relaying the plays for whichever backup was in at the time. I saw him, he's talking to Coach Guilford for a minute there. Like we talked about, what we had felt like was maturity in his interviews, in everything in the preseason. And then it's like, okay, well, like when it's like live action and the bullets are flying, like how do you actually act? And it's the same guy. And after the game, like Spencer Linton's like, hey, like who was the MVP for you in this game? And he was like, the 5 guys up front. And I'm like, that right there is a perfect response. Like recognize your O-line, point out what they do well. I think he said he was going to treat him to like some milkshakes and stuff, which I love as well. I guess he recently got like a card deal, like some NIL card deal. So I'm sure some of that allowance will go towards that, but just a lot of maturity and a lot of just understanding of like, yeah, like I just had a 5 touchdown half, but like I'm not done. Like learning hasn't halted just because I've been pulled out of the game. And I think that's actually was something that happened for like a lot of the 1s and 2s in this game. Was a lot of people still very much involved. Like Evan Johnson, you would have thought like after some of these big runs that, we were in a tight game with Notre Dame in the national championship, like the way he was acting. But as it was, we were up, 55-0. And he's putting it all out there in support of his guys. So I think the culture's great. I think the quarterback showed a ton of maturity, and I'm just so excited to just get back out there again. Like I didn't get to see this last game. I was in Yellowstone, but I'm going to be there on Saturday for
Excuse me?
Yeah, I was in, I had to go. I don't know how he got there so quick, but I saw a bear. I saw a bear in Yellowstone, and then 5 hours later, he was just chucking dimes in Provo. It was kind of impressive, honestly.
I was gonna say, I think you got the wrong memo. I think we sent in the group message, "Hey, we're all gonna go watch Bear," and we got Trevor sitting by Old Faithful. Guys are looking around like, "Where is everybody?"
It's like I've got the Bear. Where's the Hype Train podcast? Where is everybody?
Oh, that's incredible. How about that defense, though?
It's so good.
Is it an overreaction?
51 yards.
Like to Chandler's point, I've never felt more uncomfortable than I did in the first 7 minutes of that game. I was texting, I was like sending out tweets like, let's never schedule Portland State again. I was texting the group chat, boys, I'm nervous. After Portland State had the 20-yard run in the first drive and then the 3rd and 15 that they converted on the second, I was like, oh, same old third down defense. We suck. We're not going to be able to stop the run this year. What on earth is going on? And Portland State gained 6 yards the rest of the game. 6. BYU had 27 plays over the final 3 quarters that gained at least 6 yards. Portland State gained 6.
It was an outing. Like these guys came to play. I was interested just to see, like, we've talked about at length, like Kalani's teams kind of tend to show you who they are when they play these FCS opponents. So I just kind of decided to look into like
I'm not letting myself go there with this one just because it will scare me if I do.
I don't think it can go, much further past, some of these other examples, but I thought I'd look into it. So BYU since 2016, when Kalani started, they've played 5 FCS schools before Portland State on Saturday. Average yards allowed was 281 per game, with a whopping 420 yards allowed by Utah Tech. If you guys remember back in 2022, I believe.
Yeah.
FCS teams tell us who we are. That's for sure.
Portland State, 51 yards. I mean, that's just, I know that Portland State is bad. There's no way that they are 230 yards worse, bad. And it's
going to be, not to hate on Portland State. I was worried that they were throwing the game there for a little bit. To 4th and 1 at the 49-yard line and you punt. But 4th and 12 from the 40-yard line and you kick a field goal? There were just some decisions made in that game where I was just like BYU's defense is better than that, man. Come on. At least make it hard for us. Instead, you're kicking the ball off our face masks.
Well, speaking of, did you guys see that Trey Alexander called that whole play?
No.
So he was on. Shout out to our friends over at Coug Connect. He was doing an interview with I can't remember who the 2 other guys were, but they were both guys currently on the team. And this before the game, he was like, if they kick a field goal, we're gonna block it and we're gonna crib it. He's like, I just feel so confident with the game plan going into this game that if they kick a field goal, we will block it and we will crib it.
I think he also called a shutout too. Trevor, you've been taking lessons from him about pre-game predictions or
I just asked Trey.
The magic here?
I'm just yo, Trey, touchdowns for Bear Bachmeier. He let me down. He told me 4, but
I finally learned the name because he played so well. John Tamoy-Peau.
Yes,
dude,
dog.
That first tackle, he just swallowed the running back. I was like, oh dang, okay, that was incredible. A great tone setter.
Dude, BYU's defensive tackles were awesome in this game. Keanu Tanavasa had 4 pressures on 9 pass rush snaps.
40%. Something like that.
Not bad. John Tamoy-Peau had a sack. Anisi Purcell had a sack. John Tamoy-Peau led the team with an 83 run defense grade, followed very closely by Viliame Puha with an 82.9 or something like that. This defensive line is nasty.
We didn't even have
Kirkland. Yeah, we don't have Kirkland yet. So Portland State's bad. We know they're bad. I am really the one I'm most fascinated to, the position group I'm most fascinated to watch this weekend is the defensive tackle group, because Stanford at the very least has P4 bodies, and I would argue a pretty solid offensive line. They have talent. If BYU can put up a similar kind of run defense performance where they're giving up under 100 yards, something like that, I think it's time to fire up the BYU being back in the defensive tackle game business. And if BYU is back in the defensive tackle game business, that's really scary for the future of the league, because I think BYU is going to be the best defense in the conference again.
It was wild, looking back on the game and realizing there was only 1 turnover forced by the defense, because I think last year when you forced 29 turnovers, you're just so used to them turning the ball over 3 or 4 times a game that it was weird walking away from this game realizing that the front 7 was so good that there really weren't opportunities to create turnovers in the secondary. It was one of those things where I'm like, man, in order for the offense to score, we'll say 42 points in a half, excluding the now regularly scheduled Kelly Popinga special teams touchdown, apparently. like you have to get the other team's offense off the field so fast. Like they're basically creating turnovers because it was just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out without actually physically taking the ball away. And it's been a long time. It's been a really, really long time since I've watched a football game. And it's like 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And the Portland State quarterback's been hit for the upteenth time. And I'm just kind of like, oh.
I was feeling bad. Like I
felt like I was like, this is horrible.
It felt nice, I gotta say, after I remember all the comments in the first quarter about like time of possession and how that was leading Portland State's way. And then there shortly after it was like 35-0. I'm like, all right, like, are we gonna keep talking about time of possession as if that's like a super important stat here? Or so having that go that way was like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Can't get a yard. It was I don't want them to cross the line of scrimmage for the Titans. Like,
and they almost did it.
Nice.
Like if they gained a yard, it was like, oh, progress. It was like the scene from Little Giants where it's like 2nd and 9, they gained a yard. So I just want to read off. We may never see a box score this dominant again. And so I just wanted to read off a couple of stats.
Baby. Woo!
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to read off a couple of stats that I thought were really interesting. If Portland State's yards were points, BYU still wins by 3 scores.
That's such a good one, dude.
22.5% of Portland State's offensive plays resulted in negative yards. Let's see. 10 out of 11 drives for BYU ended up in points. BYU's available yards gained during the game was 83.6%. Portland State's was 5.5%. I don't know. I don't have the way to look that up, but I'm just going to assume that's a school record for yards available differential.
Safe
assumption. BYU scored as many touchdowns over the final 3 quarters as Portland State gained yards, 6. The 37-yard line was the deepest into BYU territory that Portland State got. Unfortunately, that was because the drive started on the 37-yard line and ended on the 39-yard line where BYU blocked a field goal and took it back for a touchdown. That was Portland State's most successful drive of the game. Offensive line, 4.9 yards before contact. Cody Hagen and Dominique McKenzie, again, very unscientific. I just hit the stopwatch when they passed the 40-yard line. Cody Hagen got to the end zone in 4.28 seconds, and Dom McKenzie got there in 4.18 seconds. So pretty fast. Granted, they're not starting from zero. Like
that's a running start, but it's
fast. It's fast. Yeah. Okay. BYU's success rate in the game in the second quarter was 71%. Portland State's success rate in the second quarter, 0%. BYU outgained Portland State 287 yards to 3 and outscored Portland State 35-0 in the second quarter. 1.5 spins. That's the number that Bear Bachmeier did on that end around to Cody Hagen.
He looked dang good doing it.
Yeah, we're doing great. 6 different, actually it might have been 7 with Jack Kelly. 7 different BYU players scored their first touchdown in a BYU uniform, led by Bear Bachmeier with 5. And most of all, 64,494. That was the attendance of the game, the most since 2009 TCU. And the best part was most of those fans stayed well into the fourth quarter. I took a video of a full student section, that's 13,000 students, doing the Macarena up 62-0. Vibes were immaculate in this game. Like, as far as beatdowns go, BYU may never see one like that again. Which, I mean, let's just talk about the macro of it. What do you feel like you learned from this kind of a beatdown? Is there anything to learn from this kind of a beatdown?
They're not 2017.
I think that's mine too. Like, they're not bad. Like, I don't know how good BYU is, but I know they're not bad because I know what a bad football team looks like against an FCS opponent. And it wasn't 69-0. This is as dominant as BYU's been. And like, Portland State's bad. And people will point to like the 42-0 score against Tarleton State. Portland State at least moved the ball. Like they had 300 yards of offense against Tarleton State, who beat Army the next week. So like Tarleton State's pretty good too. Probably like think of Tarleton State as like a mid-tier G5 team. Is kind of what they look like. Portland State moved the ball. They just missed, 2 field goals and threw a couple, like 2 picks. So it's not like they were completely inept on offense. They were completely inept on offense. And a lot of that was because of what BYU was doing. And I shudder to think of what this BYU defense is going to do to Stanford's poor quarterback. But things I feel like I know, BYU's defense is going to be really good again. I think their offense will be good, but I need to see Bear throw it 20 plus times before I feel comfortable with saying BYU's offense will be better.
Oh yeah. And just to touch,
but it's a good start.
Even just to touch momentarily on like the cultural aspect of it, with like you had the starters go in, be about as dominant as you can be with pretty minimal mistakes, right? Like, and then like Trevor touched on earlier, you have Evan Johnson, Bear, all the other starters absolutely thrilled for the 4th, 5th string guys scoring a touchdown, making a big play, like being really into the game the entire time. It feels like a cultural difference from a few years ago as well.
During turbulence, the entire field was just covered with BYU football players just jumping around. Like they're engaged, they're active, even when they're not in the game. There was no drop off. And again, that can speak to how bad Portland State was too, but there was no drop off between the first team, the second team, the third team, or the fourth team for that matter. Yep. In terms of offense, like BYU was trying not to score and they still were scoring.
Yeah. Yeah. The depth there is unreal. And so, yeah, good effort all around. Like, I think we learned a bit about the character of the team, which that really mattered at times last year as well. Like, so yeah, pretty much that.
Any week 1 overreactions from either BYU or the rest of the Big 12?
We mentioned this in the group chat. I think we should mention it here as well. I think a lot of us came into this year thinking we have a fairly easy conference schedule with of course, like Texas Tech, Iowa State, we're kind of all eyeing, of course, the Holy War too. But now that's a pretty brutal 4-game stretch of Utah, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and TCU. Probably the 4 other best teams in the conference, with Baylor maybe as an honorable mention.
Like, not to take off my blue goggles for a second, I think that's clearly the top 4 in the conference right now.
Yeah.
Like BYU plays the top 4 teams in the league, and for my money, they're probably playing 8 of the top 12.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny. Like last year, I felt like it was supposed to be just this brutal schedule where you have 5 preseason ranked teams on the schedule. Turns out to be really easy, and it cost BYU a championship game appearance because of it. This year, it seems like it's going to be the complete opposite, where we thought at best BYU is playing the 4th best team in Texas Tech. Like that's probably their toughest game. Turns out they're playing the top 4 teams in the league with 2 of them on the road. Like, but to flip that on the other side, they have to play BYU. So like BYU is going to have 4 ranked teams in a row, but those 4 ranked teams are also going to have to play a ranked team in BYU because of how BYU looked in week 1. So
shout out to Nate as well for kind of, we got talking about this, Nate Slack, right? Friend of the program. Love you, Nate. Made a good point as well with like last year, if that was the case, I would have liked our chances to beat Iowa State and to not lose out on that tiebreaker, dominate our bowl game, and then watch them get dominated against an opponent that we just barely lost to, right? Like it was heartbreaking missing out on the conference championship game last year due to tiebreakers out of our control. Now we control our own destiny, where if we don't make it, it won't be because of tiebreakers. It'll be because we didn't deserve it by not winning the games that we should.
100%.
Yeah, it's I don't know. This is one of those things where, yeah, all the teams that we're going to play, especially in the back half of the season, are going to be pretty good. Isn't that kind of how you want it?
Yep.
Like if this is the year that BYU wins it all, and I'm not saying that it is or it isn't, but like, man, like, could you imagine just looking back on that and being like, BYU finished the season 10-2, 11-1, whatever it was, and then won the Big 12 championship, and look back and we're like, wow, we were like we were 4-5 against ranked opponents in the Big 12, or whatever the case may be. It's I don't know, BYU fans, we've got the defense to combat any of these teams. So just like I know the team is, like, just lean into it. Like, this is healthy for the conference. It's healthy for BYU. It's awesome. Like, this is exciting. I can't wait.
And what I can't stress enough is that at least the predictive metrics, like, really, like, they like BYU more this year than they did last year in a lot of ways. Like, FPI has BYU favored in 11 of their 12 games. And I think the closest game that they have, I mean, they're not favored against Iowa State, but in the games that they're favored in, I think the closest one is like Texas Tech, and BYU has like a 57% chance to win that game. SP Plus has BYU as a 10-point favorite in 6 of their games, including their first 5. So, like, yes, West Virginia is better than we thought. Yes, Arizona is better than we thought. BYU is also better than the models thought, and BYU is gaining ground on those teams, not losing it. And so it's I don't know, it's interesting to see, like, the Big 12 as a whole looked a little bit, at least our bracket of it looked a little bit tougher, but I think anyone with eyes can see that the 5 best teams this weekend were BYU, Utah, TCU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech. Like, we can throw Kansas in there after this week when they beat Missouri, but it's, I don't know, like, I BYU's like right in there in that mix with the conference title contenders. And really the only unanswered questions left is, what does our quarterback look like? When it comes to immigration, you want lawyers you can trust. Wilner O'Reilly brings 26 years of experience, including a former immigration officer on the team. They represent actors, professional athletes, Fortune 500 companies, families, and BYU students, ensuring that everyone has access to top-tier legal support. They speak 10 languages, including Spanish, and despite what you see on TV or social media, they're retrieving great results every day. As a Hype Train listener, your consultation is completely free. Visit WilnerO'Reilly.com in the link and mention the Hype Train to get started. Wilner O'Reilly, your trusted immigration attorneys.
I love it. It's so exciting, dude. I'm so excited, dude. I love the Big 12. It's the best.
Like, and like last couple of reactions from the week. Let me know if, like, any of these are unreasonable. I think BYU is going to have the best defense in the conference again. I think BYU will probably have a top 5 offensive line in the Big 12, if PFF numbers are any indication of that. I think LJ Martin is the best running back in the conference. I mean, he was the top rated on PFF, and, like, is it Bryce? What was Washington's name from Baylor? He didn't look particularly impressive. I think TCU's running back looked pretty good. Arizona had a running back, had a good performance, but LJ Martin just looked on another planet on Saturday. And then if all those things are true, BYU's a conference title contender. Like, if BYU's got the defense, the offensive line, the weapons at wide receiver and tight end, they have the running back, they definitely have the coaching staff. I feel like I could play quarterback and lead this team to 8 wins.
It's funny. It's funny you rattle off kind of some of those factors, because you basically just listed off Arizona State last year, but with less surprise. Like, you got the best running back in the conference, freshman quarterback, albeit a redshirt freshman in this case with Sam Leavitt. And
he got better as the season went along, mind you.
Right, and a top receiver, and a good coaching staff, and that's exactly, they went on and they won the conference, and as much as it pains me with his older brother, like Sam Leavitt did, he got better as the weeks went by, and he's kind of grown into that position. So it's the blueprint, right? And we've seen it work. So
Stanford this week. Stanford's not very good. I will say that as soon as the clock strikes 0 and BYU wins by 30, I will be posting the screenshot of Stanford and ECU being ranked ahead of UCLA in FPI for reasons that will remain anonymous. But I think BYU is clearly better than Stanford. BYU is favored by 18, and SP Plus has them as like a 25-point favorite. The SP Plus also has Stanford scoring 14 points in that game, and I'm not sure I think Stanford's getting that far with that quarterback.
Stanford rushed for more yards than they passed for last week against Hawaii's not so vaunted defense. So, like, I have a hard time seeing them put up more than 10, maybe more than 6. Like, I can see them a handful of field goals, but I have a hard time thinking that they find the end zone. And that feels like a very blue goggle take, but like, it seems crazy, but I think predicting 69-0, other team only gaining 50 something yards would have seemed like a blue goggle take too last week. So
I thought SP Plus was out of its mind for predicting 55-0 for BYU. I thought there was no way they would get that, and they beat it by 2 touchdowns. I am holding to my prediction that BYU is not giving up a touchdown until week 5. I think they hold.
Oh, there's a bye week in there.
There's a bye week in there.
Crap.
It's like, man.
I think BYU does not give up a touchdown this week. I think they give up maybe 2 field goals. I think they give up a couple field goals to ECU. But again, barring health, I don't think you're going to be able to run on this team, and which is what Stanford does best, by the way. Like, but ironic, like they hadn't scored a rushing touchdown with their running back in like a year and a half until they did it against Hawaii. Like their running backs aren't like their running backs are good. Their offensive line is good, but it's not like their running game was like absolutely dominant against Hawaii.
Yeah, Micah Ford's pretty good, and I can't remember his last name, but I think it's Kyle Roush, or Roche. He's their tight end. He should be pretty good. He's better than his stat line against Hawaii, that's for sure. It was like 3 catches for like 6 yards or whatever. Look for Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly to kind of man him up. But this is a team where we can, if one of the big offseason things for Jay Hill was being better about stopping the run. That was something that they were a little bit more susceptible to last year, especially with like a running quarterback. If that's something that they've put a focus on, then this is a good leg up from what they got against Portland. And so look for them to be eyeing that. I just know as a competitor myself, just this defense doesn't want to give up points. And I'm with Joe. I just don't know if they concede at least a touchdown this week. Field goal maybe.
So Micah Ford against Hawaii had 113 yards rushing on 4.8. Sorry, he had 113 yards rushing, but it was on 4.3 yards per carry. Like, not great. He did average 4 yards after contact. Like, he was breaking tackles, but Micah Ford also weighs more than like 7 of the 11 starters on Hawaii's defense. That the size disadvantage isn't going to be there against BYU. All of BYU's defensive tackles are 300 plus. Puha and Schoonover are all 270 plus. Glasker's 240. Like, you're not going to outmuscle a BYU defense. And again, like when you're averaging
240 is so unfair. I'm sorry.
It is. And he's fast. He's fast.
So
when you're averaging 4 point, like when the strength of your team is running the football and you average 4.1 yards per carry against Hawaii, who went and gave up, hold please. 5.8 yards per carry to Arizona the next week. Like, you're gonna have a hard time. And like, if they do trot out Ben Goldbrinson, he might not walk out of there alive. Like, this, according to PFF, his offensive grade was 29.4. out of 100. That's well below failing. Where is the pressure and depth? When he was under pressure, he was 1 for 7. He was 41% completion percentage, 2.2 yards per attempt when Hawaii wasn't blitzing. So what's it going to look like when you got Jack Kelly breathing down your neck? Like I think it's going to be a really rough night for Stanford's offense. And then at that point, it's like, can BYU score 30 points to make this one a blowout in the fourth quarter?
And you mentioned, like it's worth mentioning the game scripting as well, where certain teams like Stanford, when their strength is they have some good recruits along the O-line, they can pound the rock. It kind of goes away when you're up 17 or 21 on them. Like they can't rely on that. We saw that, I think, 2 years ago against Cincinnati, where they had a really good running back, but the game script kind of goes against them, where if they get down by 2 or 3 scores, you kind of take away their biggest strength. And I have a lot of confidence in our defense against Stanford trying to air it out, especially with what we saw last week.
I mean, that goes for every team. Like if you look at Miami and Notre Dame, like Jeremiah Love, like one of the best. And like Miami didn't even have that big of a lead anyway. Like they were up like a touchdown, but for whatever reason, like Notre Dame felt like they had to go away from that. So I think that's a great point, Chandler. I think the second you can make really any team play against their tendencies, that's a good thing. But when it's a team as kind of volatile as Stanford is right now, like kind of lacks an identity, the morale in the program right now is in shambles. Like the quicker you can kind of get them in like kind of that position, the sooner they tap out, honestly.
Late night in LAS, game's already sold out. It's a whiteout. Like it's going to be a really tough environment for them to come and control the game scripts, like you were saying, Chandler. On the defensive side of the ball, they didn't really do anything on defense that really impressed me. Hawaii's quarterback, Micah Alahado, about halfway through the game was kind of lighting him up, and then he went out with a high ankle sprain, came back into the game and beat them anyway. It's Hawaii average, 4 yards per carry. They had a running back go for 7.5 yards per carry. I don't know. Like it's even on defense, like I thought their front seven was okay, but their secondary left a lot open, and Alahado just like couldn't hit him. So like if Bear, I think this is the chance, like Bear's going to have open receivers down the field. Can Bear hit him? Because I feel like BYU did not show anything unique or crazy in the passing game. It was very, very simple concepts. Like I'm curious what BYU rolls out there, and how many times they let Bear throw the football. Like I anticipate this is going to be a game where I don't think BYU runs it maybe like for 50 times in this game like they did last week. I can maybe see 35 and Bear throws for another 20, 25 and see where we get. Like it's the perfect opportunity to ease your true freshman quarterback in against a P4 opponent that at least has some talent.
Yep.
I love it. Before we get to our predictions, I have to remind everyone that we are sponsored by Odeon Menswear, and I think this is a perfect time to do our Elevate athlete of the game from last week.
Let's go. If you want to elevate your game, if you want to look hot, like we have hot takes, Odeon Menswear. Look good, feel good, so that you can do good. We love the mission of this. Odeon Menswear has been a very popular missionary brand for a very, very, very long time. I had a few of their shirts when I served my mission 10 years ago. The quality has only gone up since. We all got fitted for our suits last week, and we all look freaking good. Looking forward to sporting those on the podcast. They're athletic fitting suits, which is really nice. I can't wear my wedding suit anymore because there's no stretch, no give whatsoever. The weirdest thing I ever did on my mission was chop a tree down in a suit. I can I can chop down a forest in an Odeon suit. So
Nice.
please, their mission is great. Their whole thing is about looking good, feeling good so you can do good in the most important moments of your life. Think about all the moments where you wear a suit. You're usually doing something important. Odeon menswear is going to help your performance when you're doing those things. So give them a shout. You get 15% off your order when you order with Hype Train 15. Tell them we sent you, and they'll hook you up. Big BYU guys over there. Player of the game, Trevor.
For me, we talked about it in the group chat. I won't, go into too many details, but for me, it's got to be Bear Bachmeier, true freshman making his first start, the first true freshman to ever open a season opener for BYU, and he goes out there and has a very efficient on 16 attempts, whether rushing or passing. He had 5 touchdowns, so that's my guy.
I think that's the answer.
Has to be.
John Tamoy-Peau is a shout that we could probably give it to. LJ Martin, I think, was the most important player on BYU's offense by far. So he's a great guy to go to, but it's really hard to compete with 5 touchdowns. So hopefully we're giving it to Bear every single week. Hot takes and score predictions. I am going to predict BYU wins 41-6. My hot take is BYU gives up under 200 yards of offense.
It's crazy to think that they have 149 extra yards to work with from last Saturday.
I know.
Like, they would have had to give up 3 times. Like, for you to still get your hot take, they could give up 3 times what they just let up, and you would still get it.
Like, they gained, again, vaunted Hawaii defense here, 286 yards of offense. Like that, not great. And you're going up against a much bigger, more talented defense. It's going to be tough.
I'm going to say, for my score prediction, I'm going to say 48-6. I think we see Will Ferrin twice in the game, and my gosh, like if he's at 56 again, just false start one time and push it back to 61. He'll hit it. He'll hit it. Like, it's always one of those things, like first kick of the year where you're a little bit like, okay, like, love Jake Oldroyd, but Jake Oldroyd, like, senior year was a lot different than like freshman Jake Oldroyd, right? And so, it was like, will lose any of his mojo? Nah. He aura farmed, as the kids say, over the summer, and came back even better. But my prediction for this game, LJ didn't get into the end zone last week despite his best efforts. Bear kept taking them all, but I think he's going to have over 100 yards this week and 2 touchdowns.
I dig it. A little more conservative on the score side. It doesn't feel conservative, but let's go like 38-6. I thought that's kind of seems right, with like Stanford getting 2 field goals over the course of the game. We don't run up the score per se, but it's a dominant win. It's gonna my goal and my thought is that this is gonna feel like the Kansas State game last year, without maybe all of the hype around a top 15 ranked opponent coming in. Like, I think it's gonna feel pretty comfortable by mid game, hopefully, especially with the game script and what we mentioned earlier. My hot take would be, I'm gonna say 4 sacks for the BYU defense, which, if we were to, didn't seem too crazy, but that's not what we see a lot of. I think, especially as we get Stanford behind on the scoreboard, they're gonna have to try to throw it to catch up. It's going to open up a lot of opportunities for our pass rushers. Hopefully we see some of the young guys really shine out. Ephraim Asiata, Hunter Clegg, Tassili Akana. I would love to see them get in on the action. So
it's fun to think. Man. It's fun to think that it's either 4 sacks or it's like 2 sacks and 2 picks.
Yeah. It's like pick your poison. Like I'm hoping this game looks a lot more like UCF, where it's just dominance from beginning to end. It just, without the fourth quarter touchdowns that make it close at the end. I need that no touchdowns until week 5 to hit. I have my mortgage riding on that. Fun times, man. Cougs are up. Still fun to be a BYU fan. I'm still having a great time. even if BYU is beating opponents 69-0, and I have to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my night mid third quarter. May it be so for the rest of the season. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.